All right, I'm pleased to say we can now speak to the Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Peter Carl, who's joining us from Birmingham. Secretary of State, thank you so much for being with us. I hope you're having a good morning so far. Plenty to talk to you about today. I want to start, if I may, Secretary of State, with Prince Andrew. There are more revelations in the paper this morning about Prince Andrew. What questions do you have for him and the royal family?
Well, it's not a question that I have. It is questions that victims have. Today is another milestone because we have the book being released by Virginia Giuffre. Again, it focuses all of the attention where it should be, and that is with the victims. So when you say questions that I have, it is questions that victims have. If there are outstanding questions that victims of those who suffered at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein have, then anybody who has any information about it should be giving it freely so that we can give the information and the justice to those people who suffered so egregiously at his hands.
Do you have any questions at all? Is there anything in what we've heard so far, these revelations we've had in the past few days, that causes you to take pause and think that something doesn't quite sound right here?
Well, as I said, these are moments where we reflect on the needs of victims to get the justice they deserve. Victims should always be in the driving seat when it comes to what they have endured and suffered, and that's what we strive for our system of justice here in the UK. And of course, this is a system which is American-led, but we need to make sure that those victims do get the information and the justice that they deserve. And anybody who has any information about that should be giving it freely.
You'll know that the person who wrote Virginia Giuffre's book has called for Prince Andrew to give evidence to some of those American prosecutors. Is that something you would support?
It certainly is something that I would support, and I believe that Andrew himself has said in the past that he would cooperate with any such requests, and that's something that should be clearly adhered to.
OK, so he should speak to American authorities. The royal family have also said that all investigations should be carried out to look into the accusations over the weekend that Prince Andrew asked his bodyguard, who's employed by the Met, to dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre. Of course, Andrew's sexual assault accuser. Should the Met look into that?
Look, these are issues which the Met are acting independently of government from. The Metropolitan Police Force acts independently in the way that it enforces and it investigates and chooses to make the decisions on investigations. That is a very important tenet of the way we deliver justice in this country. I would certainly support the Metropolitan Police in any decision that they take in this regard. And let me just say in general terms, today, again, we focus on victims of the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. There should be nobody who is above the law on it. Nobody should be free of the consequences of breaking the law in any circumstances in our country. I don't think I could be clearer on that. These are issues because of Prince Andrew and his connection to the royal family, where the King has taken a leadership role, where we have responded, and where there are issues for law enforcement, then they should be taken by our independent law enforcement agencies. I think that is a pretty clear stance from this government and myself today.
It certainly is, Secretary of State, and I thank you for that. Just a couple more specifics, though, outside of the legality and the accusations that, of course, Prince Andrew vehemently denies about his relationship with Virginia Giuffre, but more about Prince Andrew himself. And let's deal, first of all, with his lodgings. He's staying in the Royal Lodge. It's reported in some of the papers this morning that it's not clear exactly how he's paying for the upkeep on that. Are you clear as to how Prince Andrew is paying to live in that 30-room mansion?
Well, I believe that is a lease with the royal estate, and that is a matter for His Majesty the King.
Yeah, it's a long lease, and it's reported that if he were to be told to leave that house, the taxpayer would have to compensate him £500,000. Is that your understanding as well? That's not something I'm qualified to or have the information to comment on. OK, do you have any opinion on it, Secretary of State? Those are matters for His Majesty the King. The lease is with the Crown Estate, and those are matters for the King. And I think, as we've seen in recent days, the King has acted pretty decisively when these things get onto his desk. OK, I can see you not wanting to give me very much more on this. Let me put this one to you. The SNP have put forward an early day motion to strip all of his titles. I spoke to your colleague, Bridget Phillipson, about this yesterday, who said that any parliamentarian can put forward a motion to discuss it. Is that something now, a day on from that statement from Bridget Phillipson yesterday, that the government would support for there to be more discussion about stripping Prince Andrew's titles?
Well, Bridget was completely right. Any MP can put forward these motions, but there are motions for the Speaker of the House of Commons to make a decision on. This government will respond in any way to the ruling of the Speaker of the House of Commons, as we always do. We have great respect for him and, of course, the institution of the House of Commons. These are things which the Commons itself is in control of, not the government. So let's see where that goes.
See where that goes. OK. Let's move on to something else then for today, if we can, Secretary of State. The Conservatives accuse the government of being basically soft on people sentenced for rape or crimes against children. I've got the riposte from the government about this, saying that the Conservatives were just as bad. But just on the facts of this, do these new sentencing reforms mean that some 2,100 rapists, stalkers, paedophiles will have their jail time cut?
Well, we have been very clear that we are not going to let out of prison as part of the early release sexual offenders. But let me be even clearer. When you just said that the Conservative Party was just as bad, the Conservative Party caused this problem. They started sending people to prison for which they had no places. They refused to build the places, to expand the prison service to cope with the sentencing needs, which we knew in advance would be needed. They turned the other way. They underfunded our criminal justice system from start to finish, and they left us with the mother of all crises in our prison service. We are building new places. We are reforming the sentencing system so that those people who deserve to be in prison are in prison, and we can make sure that we have appropriate sentences at all times. But we are having to respond to a system that they broke, they refused to fix, and they left our country in a perilous state. So it is absolutely unbelievable that they would start making these kind of accusations on a day like today, when they should actually be standing up and apologising for the mess they left our country in and the way that has exposed communities up and down our country.
All right, I'll put some of that to them, but just on the point of those who are eligible for early release, you said no sex offenders. What about people accused of attempted murder? Will they be eligible for early release as part of these sentencing reforms?
No. As I've said, we are managing the crisis in the prison service, making sure we can keep
people who have been
communities
accused of
safe.
attempted murder be eligible for early release under your sentencing reforms?
Well, when you say accused, I mean, if they're in prison, I think it's gone beyond being accused. So let's just look at who is being released, and we're doing it in a way on the early release scheme that is making sure that the safety of communities is put forward. And we've been very, very clear that no sex offenders are going to be released. No people who have committed domestic abuse are going to be eligible for early release. This is a scheme that we did not want to implement. We are implementing it simply because of the state that we inherited our justice system in from the previous government. And we are still in the process of building new prison places, reforming the justice system so it is fit for the age we are living in, not just picking up the mess that we've left, but making sure it is fit for the future and fit for the age we're living in. These are all things we're trying to do simultaneously so we can get back on our feet as a country when it comes to justice.
People convicted of attempted murder could be eligible for early release, yes? That's what you're saying?
No, it's not what I'm saying at all. What we're doing is managing the system in a way that actually puts communities first. And look, if there's any specific examples you'd like to give, then we can put that to the Home Office. Okay. And I'm sure that they'll be available to answer the questions. But the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has been absolutely determined to keep communities safe, not just in the early release system, but making sure that we have a criminal justice system and an enforcement programme which is catching more criminals in the first place, delivering justice more swiftly than before, but also reintroducing community policing so that communities can feel safe again for the first time in over 14 years. And that is a big step forward. We're making sure that the crimes like shoplifting are no longer taken off of the books, which the Tories did. We're reintroducing shoplifting as a crime that should be investigated by police, which is making sure that high streets are once again safe places to go and places where shops can carry on making money because it's not being eroded by the epidemic that we saw under the Tories of shoplifting. These are the things that Shabana Mahmood and the Home Secretary in this government is getting a grip on. Don't forget that Keir Starmer was a prosecutor. He cut his teeth prosecuting these sorts of crimes. These are the sorts of things that are deeply important to this government from the very, very top down.
OK. Now, you have announced there will be an inquiry into the grooming gangs scandal. You'll know that two people who bravely put themselves forward to join that board have now quit it, saying that there is prevarication, there is delay, and there are some issues with those who may be appointed to chair it. There are now calls to scrap the inquiry in a panel form and appoint a judge to lead it. Is that something the government is minded to do?
Let's just see where the Home Office go with this. We are determined to deliver the justice and the information and the truth that victims of grooming gangs suffered. They are at the forefront of our minds at this moment. I cannot give a running commentary on an inquiry which is currently being assembled. Let's just see where this inquiry goes. Let's just see what is announced when the inquiry is complete and ready to go. And at that point, we have this discussion.
Now, the accusation from one of those who has quit this panel is that there's an effort, she says, to downplay the racial and religious element of the crimes that she faced. She's a victim of a grooming gang. Before you tell me about that challenge, just was there a racial and religious element to these crimes that these victims faced?
Very clearly that there was, and the Casey review into Rotherham, the Louise Casey review into the review of reviews that she did for us just recently is very clear that there was, elements of race and then also prejudice that came into not just the crimes themselves, but also into the way that some of the state institutions at the time responded to those crimes. These are things we've accepted, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to have the inquiry in the first place, again, accepting one of the key recommendations that Louise Casey review came up with, so that we can get to the truth of this, so we can show and demonstrate to people that there are no-go areas when it comes to delivering the truth, so that we can prevent these sorts of crimes ever happening in the past. This is a government which is determined to put an end to these sorts of crimes, so we can reassure communities up and down the country that this will never happen again.
Yeah, crimes ever happening in the future, I'm sure you meant to say. Look, finally then, you've said that you're going to do all that it takes. You've had these two people who weren't happy with the potential chair appointed and now quit the panel. There are calls for it to be led by a judge. You won't give me a running commentary, but what will you tell me about how you're going to make sure that this inquiry that the government had to be almost forced into putting forward in the first place is going to be robust enough to really deal with the pain that those victims have suffered and make sure that it doesn't happen again in the future in this way?
Well, look, we are determined to get this right. Except when we came in to office, of course, we inherited a situation where there have been multiple reviews in the past, and that's why we engaged the services of Louise Casey to figure out what actually needs to be done on behalf of victims. The victims of these crimes are first and foremost in our thoughts. It is for them that we are doing this inquiry, so that these sorts of crimes cannot happen in the future, so that we can make sure that institutions, for whatever those institutions are on the side of people up and down the country to prevent these sorts of things from happening again. And we can only be judged on that when you see the final announcement of the inquiry. Yeah. We are trying to get this done as quickly as possible, but because of the extent and the nature and the complexity of the crimes that were uncovered, you can understand that we are taking our time to get it right for those victims. That is what we have said we will do. That is what we are determined to do. OK. Thank you for that, Secretary of State. And since I've kept you, I will want to ask you about your announcements today. And I wonder if you can tie in this investment summit that you're at to that news that we had yesterday. And I think you may be running in today a bit as well about outages in terms of data centres. What are we going to do in this country to make sure that we have robust domestic infrastructure to try and protect our own data centres so we don't have outages in the future? Well, when it comes to national cyber security, particularly for the state institutions, when we came into office last year, we discovered that the previous government had left us vulnerable, which is why in the first week of coming into office last year, we started designing the cybersecurity bill. So we will be introducing legislation in this session so that we can get our standards and the interventions that ministers can make to keep our cybersecurity systems where they need to be there as rapidly as possible. When it comes to these sorts of outages provided by the very big providers, it is really important those providers are really open and transparent with the nature and the cause of those outages, so that we as customers, consumers, and of course our economy being increasingly dependent on these sorts of services, can reassure ourselves that mitigations are being put into place for the future. These services are vitally important to our economy. They're vitally important to the data that drives the information we have as individual people. And we need to make sure that we can do so. Now, look, I'm talking to you here from Birmingham today. You can see behind me from the set that we're about to have 350 businesses descend on Edgbaston Stadium here. All of these businesses are here to invest in Britain because of the confidence that they are increasingly having in the way that our economy is being run. Today, we'll be unleashing a further £10 billion worth of investment into the economy by working with business, by unleashing some of the potential of business. But crucially, we're doing our bit in government too. So we are going to be announcing the reduction over the course of this Parliament of the red tape that's holding back business by 25%. That could be up to £6 billion every year. And this isn't just a number we're plucking out of the air or we're promising to deliver in the future. Today, we will be announcing that we will be cutting the red tape burdens on business by £1 billion starting today. And we will be naming with all of those areas of red tape and bureaucracy so that businesses can crack on with it, not focusing on the 200 hours that people are putting into filling in forms and complying with unnecessary regulations. From today, that 200 hours will be reduced so that coffee shops, businesses right around our country can start focusing on their customers, on doing business, on commercialising great innovations, all the things that we want our businesses to be doing and not doing the things that are unnecessary. This is a government that acts for business, and today will be a great festival of ideas, a festival of investment, and you'll start to see the energy that this government is generating with business, alongside business, to get money and investment into our economy.